Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to TrepTalks. This is the show where I interview successful e commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders and ask them questions about their business stories and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today, I'm really excited to welcome Colin McIntosh to the show. Colin is the founder and CEO of Sheets and Giggles. Sheets and Giggles is a Denver-based company specializing in sustainable bedding products made from eucalyptus lyocell fabric. And he is also one of the founders of a new project, which is an AI resume builder called Sheets Resume. And we'll talk briefly about that as well. And today I'm going to ask Colin a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tactics that he has used to start and grow his businesses. Now, before we dive into this interview, if you enjoy this content, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And for more interviews like this, please visit TrepTalks.com. And with that, Colin, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today at TrepTalks. Really, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat.
So it seems like you have a couple of entrepreneurial projects. Maybe we start with your main one, the Sheets and Giggles. It's an e-commerce business. So maybe, and I know you were talking a little bit about your previous background. You were a recruiter. So I'm very curious to know, how did you kind of shift into entrepreneurship? Was it almost a dream of yours, or was it something accidental? How did you get the idea for
Uh,
Sheets and Giggles? And yeah, how did you start this business?
there's a lot of questions in there. How did I always know I
Give
was gonna
me
become an entrepreneur? Did I start? Yeah, how did I start Sheets and Giggles? Why Sheet? Like, so
give me your,
the
like,
life
the
story.
no, no, the what is it called for the superhero? The how did you get started as an entrepreneur?
Uh, I'll give well the TLDR, I guess, is that I guess I always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. My father started his own law firm. My mom started her own acupuncture practice, and she reinvented herself in her 30s and went back to acupuncture school. I saw my dad come home every night at 9 p.m. and leave at 5 or 6 in the morning to build this business. And I'd stay up late to have dinner with him when I was a kid. And so I always knew that I was gonna like run my own business. It was very normalized for me. People start their own companies. That was just what it was in my head, is what people do. And I graduated from Emory University in 2012. I got a job at the world's largest hedge fund in Connecticut. I promptly got fired from that in about 5 months, and I became a recruiter at the business that hired me, the agency that hired me. And I love recruiting so much, and I was really good at it, that I ended up hiring myself at one of my startup clients. From there, I ended up going through Techstars with a friend's company that had gotten into Techstars that I helped start. And then 2.5 years later, when I was 27 years old, I started Sheets and Giggles in 2017. And I actually started that company 3 weeks after I got laid off from my last job at my last startup. And so it's been a really wild ride. It's been about 7.5 years, almost 8 years now, which is crazy to think. We have hundreds of thousands of customers. We've been on Good Morning America. We've been on The View. We have a mattress now, pillows, everything's made out of trees. For the most part, all plant-based, USDA bio-preferred, biodegradable products. And we have a really wonderful time with our marketing. Sheets and Giggles is super fun. And like you alluded to, I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I think every entrepreneur has probably 100 domains that they buy and a million business plans. And so when I start one here and there, it starts to build up and become a real project over time. But yeah, so I'm happy to go into specifics on like why Sheets and Giggles, how I came up with the idea, anything that's most interesting to your listeners.
Yeah, maybe start with the product itself. So it seems like the value proposition, because I mean, sheets and bedding is, I think, uh, it's been there since humans have been probably
Pretty
probably been
boring.
alive, right? So
Big
they
boring
need they
category.
need they need some sort of a bedding, right? So
Yeah.
your value proposition is that it is built of this unique fabric, eucalyptus lyocell. So maybe
hmm
if you can talk a little bit about your product line and What exactly is the value proposition for the customer?
Yeah, so it's cellulosic rayon. So it's rayon from cellulose, fabric from plants, right? The early version of this is bamboo viscose, which is made from taking bamboo and then turning it into viscose using carbon disulfide, which is really bad for the environment. That's kind of the earlier process. You have to throw away that carbon disulfide. It often ends up in waterways, and it's really toxic to workers and environments. The second version of cellulosic rayon is called modal. That's made of beech, spruce, pine, very, very soft. If you've ever worn like modal underwear, it's unbelievably soft fabric, stretchy, very thin. And then the third version of the cellulosic rayon is called lyocell, and that's our fabric that we use. And that's mostly made from eucalyptus trees. You take the tree, you turn it into a pulp, you turn that pulp into a yarn, and that yarn into a super soft fabric. And that uses amine oxide, which is actually harmless to workers and environments. And you don't have to dispose of it. You can actually recapture and reuse about 99.5% of the chemicals in every single batch of fiber production. So it's considered widely the most sustainable fabric in the world. But we don't lead with the sustainability as our core value prop because I believe that if a product is marketed to you as sustainability first, that's kind of insinuating that it's not as good as the unsustainable options. And that's just not the case with Sheets and Giggles. Our products are phenomenal. They're softer than cotton, they're more breathable, they're cooling, they're better for hot sleepers, they're zero static, they're hypoallergenic, they repel pet fur, they're dust mite resistant, bacteria growth resistant, they stay fresher longer. And really, the value prop that we see most often resonate with people is the hot sleeper, where they're naturally cooling and they keep you at a really wonderful temperature all night. So, it's been really wonderful to bring these to market. We launched in 2018 with a $300,000 crowdfunding pre-order. It was my proudest marketing accomplishment of my life to convince 2,000 people to wait 6 months for bed sheets. Um, and like you said, it's a very boring space. It's a very old space. And so for me, that's what one of the reasons I started this company is it's a blank canvas to do whatever I want in a big boring space. And I call it the Seinfeld of brands, and that we don't have to be a brand about anything. We can be a brand about nothing. One day we can talk about, how we're donating $40,000 to COVID relief or planting tens of thousands of trees in reforestation areas. And the next day we can post a SpongeBob meme, and it all blends together beautifully in this really wonderful brand.
Awesome. I'm very curious to hear more about crowdfunding. So when you started in 2017, um, was it that these fabrics were not being used for bedding, like there were no other business that was using it? Because I would assume that crowdfunding campaign mostly is targeting uh, users that are looking for something new that's not in the market, right? So if there are options that are already in the market, like they wouldn't go to, someone coming up with something new.
Extremely limited at that point in time. So basically, cotton was like 35% of the market, polyester was like 60% of the market, and then like 5% of the market overall was like every other fabric, bamboo, silk, linen. It was very, very limited in terms of alternative fabrics. And so for me, I really wanted something that sounded like magic. I wanted something that was fully sustainable. I wanted a luxury product that was the best thing you'll ever touch. Sleep is so important. It's really interesting. The dividends that like like you can buy like expensive free weights or expensive there's really few things in your life that you can use over and over and over again that have like long-term dividends after paying just one time. Almost everything in our society nowadays is a subscription product, right?
Hmm.
But with bed sheets, if you buy like one set of $150 or $200 bed sheets, the dividends that pays off for your life are like extraordinary. So I didn't really want to compete on cost. I didn't want to compete on, which cotton is the best, like organic, Pima cotton nonsense, all that false marketing about Egyptian cotton and nonsense like that. And so I just really wanted to make something that no one had ever heard of before. And I did some research and I met some folks and Lyocell was very, very early product in the U.S. in terms of bedding. In clothing, it had caught on a little bit. It's got a beautiful drape to it, so you'll see it in some summer clothing. It's very breathable, hard to take care of if you're wearing it all the time, right? It doesn't hold up to like tons and tons of like usage, that sort of sweating and that sort of thing, like in tight corners. But for bedding, it's really wonderful and will last years.
So the idea with this is that this is a little bit of a higher price point than maybe a cotton sheet or something else, but you know, as you said, the dividends are long term. So
Oh
once
yeah.
somebody purchases it, it's for, I mean, they're using it for a long term and they're getting
Yeah,
dividends on
five or
top.
10 years. I mean, it's something that like, think about how many hours you spend in bed, even if it's, 8 hours a day, that's over what 25,000 hours a year. Am I doing that math right? Or is it even more? No, it's 200. My brain's running really, really slow today. I apologize. But yeah, so if you're doing 8 hours a day, you're looking at something like uh, 2,500 hours. Sorry about
Yeah,
that. There you go, per
something
year.
like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're sleeping, that's the only time that your body's releasing HGH. It's the only time that you're actually healing, growing, whether you want to lose weight or, reduce your anxiety. And so I didn't actually, it's funny, I didn't have any experience in this industry before I started it. So I had to learn everything on the fly about the sleep space, about fabrics. And that was really a fun challenge when we started out. But yeah, we did the crowdfunding campaign in May 2018, shipped our first box in October 2018, and then 2 years later in November 2020, first $1 million sales month. So it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, I mean, 2020 is when COVID also started, right? I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's probably your sales took off because everybody was at home and
Uh, it was a little steadier than that. I think that we had our first $100,000 six-figure month in April 2019. So, like we, did our crowdfunding in May 2018. We hit our first six-figure month in April 2019, and then we had our first seven-figure month in November 2020. So it was fairly steady rise. Our first three Q1s were like 200 grand, 700 grand, like 2.1 million, so it was
hmm.
um and that's brutal to forecast in normal circumstances, but during COVID I, I have some battle scars that I can't even like I can't talk about without getting upset from COVID. But yeah, that was
Supply chain
2020 was a
related.
challenging year. Yes, extreme. Yeah,
Yeah.
once I got a phone call from my freight forwarder, and they said, "Hey, we couldn't get into the port of Savannah, so we just dropped your containers off in Freeport, and we hope that you can get them." And I was like, my brain was like a potato timer. I was like, Freeport, the Bahamas, and I like literally had to figure out how to get containers from the Bahamas to my warehouses in Utah. Super fun.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I'm curious about, you said that your crowdfunding was your favorite marketing campaign. And then,
Mm.
of course, after that, your sales kind of took off as well. Can you talk a little bit about how did you make your crowdfunding successful? And then what did you after that in terms of customer acquisition? Like what worked really well to really drive that hockey stick growth?
So, with crowdfunding in particular, it's all about understanding your goal and then working backwards from your goal. So, if you want a six-figure, $100,000 campaign, you have to broadly get about 30% of that on day one. So, about $30,000. And if you want $30,000 on day one and you have a $100 average order value, you need 300 customers on day one to get the $30,000 at a $100 AOV. And if you need 300 customers on day one, most of those are going to come from your email list. And an email list reasonably converts at about 3% if they're engaged and you're nurturing that email list. So if you need 300 customers on day one and it's all going to come from your email list, at 3% conversion, you need 10,000 emails in order to get 300 customers.
Hmm.
And then working backwards, that will guarantee you a six-figure campaign. And so that's all I did is I just said, okay, here I need 10,000 emails, blinders on. Great. I'm going to go do this. And the way that I did it was pretty simple. I set up some landing pages, I did a photo shoot, I wrote all my own content, and I gave three value propositions. They're more breathable than cotton, they're better for hot sleepers, they're softer than cotton. You'll never touch anything like this in your life unless you buy these. And then the third value prop was that it's sustainable. And if you sign up right now, you'll get the best price we'll ever offer. And that was the best price we've ever offered. $69. I thought it was a funny price. Instead of what we anticipated was about $150 MSRP, and people went gangbusters for it. We totally got lightning in a bottle, and it was I think we captured emails for the signups at like a 46% clip. So we gathered about 11,000 emails. We spent about $9,000 to do it. I
Wow.
think we had like an 89-cent cost per lead, if I'm doing that math right. Um, and then we shut the hose off. We said, okay, we have enough emails. And that took us about 8 weeks to gather those emails. And then we launched on May 1st. And sure enough, our email list converted at 4.5% and $100 AOV, just like we thought. And we ended up getting $45,000 on day one. And then that snowballed into $284,000.
And you advertised on Google or like social platforms
To
as well?
gather, so this is back in 2018, so it was mostly Facebook and Instagram, and
Okay.
those were really high performing ads at the time. I mean, both those channels, hell, I still used Facebook in 2018. Nowadays, I mean, the whole landscape shifts every other month, so I can't even say nowadays versus back then. But yeah, Facebook and Instagram were two main advertising channels for the email gathering. And then after that, we advertised on Google as well as Facebook and Instagram to early adopters. We kind of had a lookalike profile of people who were early adopters, who had backed Kickstarter campaigns in the past, who had backed Indiegogo campaigns. And then we also, because we were trending on Indiegogo, we were like the number two trending product for a few days. That got a lot of discoverability of people just going to Indiegogo.com, seeing us on the homepage, saying, "Hey, what's that?" and then coming to our page and purchasing. So I think all in, out of the 284K, I think 190K was revenue that we drove, and then like 90K was revenue that was like discoverability on Indiegogo through their emails, newsletters. So it was a pretty solid amount of revenue they provided us just from that discoverability of being a trending product.
I mean, the most interesting thing for me is that you did the mathematics up front.
Mm.
And I guess you said that I'm willing to bet $10,000 in ad cost. Like, did you think that if you spend that $10,000, um, the success is guaranteed, or were you, I mean, there, of course, there is some risk there, right? So,
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
did you yeah consider that risk also upfront?
Absolutely, but the risk for me at that point in time was minuscule, right? I was 27 years old. I had a girlfriend, but I was single, right? I wasn't married. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have a mortgage. My rent with my girlfriend was we $1,500 for a one bedroom apartment, so it was $750 each. And I figured, okay, if I try this for 6 months and it doesn't work out, then I'll forego 6 months of revenue at some job that I would be working at anyway, and I will just go do that job anyway after that. And yeah, I might blow 10 grand, which I didn't have much savings at that point in time. It was a big chunk of my life savings for sure. But all entrepreneurs are risk loving. And I think a lot of them have ADHD, like I do, which means that you don't make your financial decisions based on a lot of risk calculation. You make them more based on dopamine, unfortunately. And so, for me, I'm making it sound a little more flippant than it actually was. Um, what you do is you set up guardrails to make sure that you don't do anything too stupid. So, for example, I spent $500 on the first round of advertisements, along with $250 on a friend who did a photo shoot for me with free models and bed sheets I bought off Amazon. They were white sheets, no one would ever know the difference.
Hmm.
And basically, I spent, maybe $1,000 all in on getting the website set up, getting the pictures, getting the landing pages, and then experimenting with about $500 worth of ads. And with that first $500 worth of ads, that's when we converted our first batch of emails. And we converted those at about a 38% clip. I remember it was like the first week. And I
Hmm.
was like, damn, that's a really good conversion rate for email gathering.
Hmm.
We're on to something here. Once I had that data point, and then I
Hmm.
could see the open rates on the emails, people opening our emails at 60%. They're taking our surveys at 45% clips. They're responding to us, they're engaging with us, they're commenting on our Facebook ads, they're sharing our Facebook ads. We have a referral program set up. If you refer 10 people, you get put into a contest for free sheets. Oh, great. People are referring their friends to sign up for the program. Once you get all that cooking, then you can start to say, okay, I'm going to spend another $1,000. Now another $1,000. Now another $1,000. Now I'm going to talk to a manufacturer. Now I'm going to start designing my sheets. Now I'm going to say, hey, I've got these people waiting to pre-order. We're excited. What's your minimum order quantities? And I do all this ahead of time. I met with these people in March, my manufacturing partners, and you start to put all of it together, and then your real risk point is when you have to start making the product and you have to actually send a deposit to your manufacturer. And that deposit for me was tens of thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
That was the risk point of like, I'm sending my life savings to these people. But at that point, we were already 1 week into the crowdfunding campaign and we had already raised $100,000.
Hmm.
So I waited to hit send on that wire until we had the first 100 grand in the bank from our
Hmm.
Indiegogo campaign. But the initial 10 grand that we spent getting everything set up and going, I would have cut loose and said, okay, it's not going to work out. If
Hmm.
I had spent the first $2,000, $3,000, maybe five, and I had said, okay, this is just not going to work. You got to be dispassionate about it, and you have to understand that like your business isn't you. Businesses fail all the time. And if you are overly emotional about it, you'll throw good money after bad, and you'll keep pouring in capital to try to make it work. But if you say, hey, I'm going to spend a few $1,000s, see if I can get people interested in this thing, and if I can't, like that's okay.
Hmm.
But I think I can. And so that's you just have to be able to cut and run at certain goalpost moments or goal lines.
Do you think that
Checkpoints.
yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Do you think that you now have an advantage because you were kind of the first to market? Because I'm assuming that the manufacturers who are creating these products, um, anybody can go and buy. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, if you're getting this manufactured in Southeast Asia somewhere, um, I'm sure it's easily available now, right? So
We
are there
actually
a lot of competitors now?
Well, we actually do our manufacturing for our sheeting in Bahrain, and then we do in our comforters, and then we also do our pillows in Denver, and then we do our mattresses in Phoenix, and so we're kind of a global supply chain, but which is super fun to navigate right now, let me tell you. And I would say that there are material differences in how I make my products versus how other people make theirs. And so even if you have the same fabric or the same fabric type, I mean, I've slept on 100% cotton sheets that are absolute trash, and I've slept on 100% cotton sheets that are, phenomenal, almost as good as ours. And it really depends on a number of different things and, how it's woven, depends on the thread count, obviously, it depends on the yarn quality, it depends on so many different pieces. And then, at the end of the day, like, are you cutting corners? Like, are you trying to make a quality product? Are you trying to make a cheap product? How is it heated, treated, kept, stored? So there are a number of different pieces to the puzzle. But I would say that like there is a healthy amount of competition in the space right now. And I kind of built the category out of nothing. And now eucalyptus sheets are like a huge category. And that's really fun because I think a rising tide does lift all boats, and we've definitely seen like the effects of more and more people finding out about it. And then, we claim a lot of that conversion share by being one of the original and most recognized eucalyptus sheet brands on the internet. But we jockey for position all the time. We're always fighting.
Hmm. In terms of your team, and I know that you kind of started a second project also. Have you kind of now like are you spending what percentage of your time are you spending on this business? Have you kind
On
of
S
systemized
and
everything?
G, on Cheats and Giggles, I mean 90% plus of my time. I mean, I still spend, at least 40 hours a week on S and G every week. It's not 80 hours a week like it used to be, when I was getting started. I'm no longer falling asleep with my laptop on my stomach at 4 a.m. and waking up at 7 a.m. and drinking pre-workout and getting going for the day. I have 5 or 10 hours every week to spend on other projects and even more time than that to spend with my wife and my family and that sort of thing. So I've gotten
What
better at prioritizing time as I've gotten older.
what is the biggest area that you focus? Are you focusing mostly on marketing? Are you focusing mostly on distribution? Like what's the biggest area where you spend your time on?
My talent is mostly within marketing, branding, and creative marketing ideas. My other talents are definitely with product design and passion for building a really wonderful product. That customer experience component, I feel very connected to my customers. I feel like I have a very intuitive connection with them where they are me, I am them. I have chronic pain. You see me twitching. A lot of our customers have chronic pain. They can't sleep at night. And so for me, I feel really close to people that have bought my product. And I like to engage with them one to one. I'll get in the customer care inbox and I'll answer emails at 2 in the morning some nights. And people love hearing from the CEO. But yeah, I mean, I would say most of my main core responsibility, aside from managing the team, managing the finances, making sure we have enough cash, making sure that things are, our third party partners are getting taken care of. My main thing that I enjoy doing and spending my time on is creative marketing strategies and campaigns.
Can you talk a little bit about your team?
Yeah, so we've got a distributed team. We were building in Denver, we were building in Colorado, and then COVID came about 18 months after I shipped my first box. So that was super fun to navigate the transition to a fully remote team. And now, broadly speaking, we've got a mix of full-timers, part-timers, and contractors and vendors. All in, I'd say about 30 or 40 people touch the business on a daily basis. And that's a mix between folks that are part-time versus full-time. Almost everybody that works with us is America-based. Some are in Canada on our customer care team. Um, and it's been really nice to, build these relationships over the years. My director of product is like, a second father to me. It's been a real joy to work with some amazing people over the years. And then, we do have agencies for, digital marketing spend, digital advertising. We've got an Amazon agency that we use. We've got a web development agency. And so you have to build very lean nowadays in today's modern e-commerce environment. Um, and it's been really interesting lately, actually, with the rise of AI and seeing where that can complement and amplify your human hours. But it's been wild to see the things that people have at their disposal nowadays versus what we had building this thing. I'm making a video right now with I think it's Veo, is there Veo? I think it's Veo, and Google's video tool. And I'm literally making a video right now that probably would have cost me like over $100,000 to do,
Hmm.
and I'm making it all within Veo right now. And I'm wondering at what point I'll be satisfied with it, if I'll be satisfied with it for like an advertisement, but I think I will be. And that's wild. We've gone to Utah, hired a team of like 50 people, like actors, like camera crew, directors, writers. We've whiteboarded these ideas. We've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on videos. Like I don't know what's gonna come for this industry, but it's a freight train. And it's gonna be wild.
I'm going to check this out. This, so you said Wave, right?
Veo, yeah, I think it's Google's DeepMind tool.
Okay.
Um, it's crazy. Some of the examples that people are posting are like shocking.
Hmm.
And so I'm all over this right now. And it's you have to figure out what the right complement is to use AI in a way that's not like that people can use AI, I think, in a way that's like overzealous, where they use it for everything. They use it for, their customer care. They use it for their marketing. They use it for their blogs. Like da da da. Da. I want to use it sparingly, but at the same time, it's like terrifying because it's like you're in this black box of like, how much is your competition using it? What are they
Hmm.
using it for? What tools are they using? And it's like this prisoner's dilemma, game theory, arms race of how much AI are you going to use at your company? How much are you comfortable using? Does it, result in, fewer man hours on certain things? Is it just amplifying? Do people want to work with AI, right? Like, do you even have people on your team that are excited about that?
Hmm.
Or is it something that changes how you hire? There's so many things right now with this that it's just the whole landscape shifting underfoot.
Yeah, I think, I mean, in the early days, the winners will be those who are adopting it uh, sooner than later. But eventually, I think everybody is going to catch up, and I think that then it will be interesting.
Well,
Everybody
I
will be
guess
coming up.
my worry is if everybody catches up and it's like an even footing, then the only thing that really matters is capital. And I think
Correct.
that's the really scary thing for me is like the only reason Sheets and Giggles exist is because a human, me, had a really weird and zany idea to do like a pun-based betting company that, was the weirdest, most visually differentiated brand in the industry. And we stuck out like a sore thumb. We were a lightning rod brand, and people gravitated towards us because we're funny and we have a good time and we've got great products. But if companies like, Bed Bath and Beyond, RIP, big box companies can, go out and create all this content, like, and flood the zone with like video and written content and SEO content and AIO content. I think it really crowds out smaller players. At the same time, it obviously empowers individuals to do so much more with a smaller team. So I'm really ambivalent towards it. I don't know how it's going to shake out. My gut tells me that it will become a capital game. And that is freaky because I think that if capital can be creative, you've really taken out a really core part of what it means to compete in a competitive business environment for a human.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how businesses and I mean the whole thing with AI and robotics is going to turn out. So interesting discussion. I want to quickly talk to you about this Sheets resume project. Are you kind of given that now you've had success with Sheets and Giggles, maybe some have capital, is it like you had an idea and you're kind of the main investor? You hired some people to start this project. Can you talk a little bit about how you came about with this?
Yeah, it's actually quite a fun story. I used to be a recruiter, like I mentioned earlier, and I've always loved recruiting. I've always loved hiring. It is exhausting. If you have empathy, it's really, really hard to be a recruiter because you see so many people. They're all desperate. They all want a job. You can't help people if you're not going to get them a job because you can't waste your time and spend your time on people that aren't going to make money for the company. And that is just so tough to see people as dollars and cents and black and white resumes and not as human beings. And so I stopped being a recruiter maybe a year after I started because I just couldn't keep doing it, maybe a year and a half. But I stayed with the part that I loved, which was candidate shepherding and helping people get jobs. And a big part of that is resume reviews. And so I probably did 100 resumes for friends and family over the following years. And then right around 2018, after a few years of pause being a recruiter, I'd stayed sharp on resumes. I'd done a bunch of reviews. Sat down one Saturday morning and I wrote this long post on Reddit about what the perfect resume looks like. and it went so viral. It's now the third result on Google when you search for resume template.
Hmm.
And I've gotten over the last 7 years since I've written that post, I've probably answered in my own spare time before bed and before when I'm drinking my coffee in the morning probably tens of thousands of comments, emails, questions, direct messages from people who are looking for jobs. And I've gotten so many people a new job. It's been a wonderful gift to be able to give that to the world. And my resume has been used over 4 million times that I know of,
Wow.
just from my downloads. And last year or 2 years ago, I called my friend Nate, who's my old colleague as a recruiter. He's now software engineer at Eventbrite. And I said, "Hey man, do you have any time to do resume reviews? I have no time, but people keep asking me, and I don't want to keep turning them down because then they go to Predators, they get charged $1,000, and they still have a shitty resume." And so Nate says, "Yeah, I can find some time." So he started doing a couple resumes here and there, maybe one or two a week. We were charging like $150, $200 for the resume review. Then more and more people kept asking. So then I found time to start doing them, maybe one every week. I didn't have time to do all of them, and I wanted to dissuade people from emailing us. So we raised our price to 300, then 400. And then I stopped getting comfortable charging more because I was like, I'm pricing people out who really need this service, but I can't help everybody who's asking me. And so that was about a year ago. Nate had the idea. He said, "Hey, why don't I put an AI wrapper on this? On all of the advice that we've been doing for all these people that we have this wonderful knowledge repository of." And so I wrote like 8 pages of instructions for the AI builder. Nate coded it, and it is beautiful. And we launched it last September in 24. And maybe spending 5 or 10 hours a week on it, making it nice and optimizing it. And it's been helping out so many more people, and we can offer it for, $9, $29, $99, depending on, the access that somebody wants. And I give it away for free to anyone who can't afford it because it's not my main income. So if anyone needs access to the resume builder, we have a cover letter writer now, a mock interview tool. I literally just give it to them for free if they email me and ask. And it's been so cathartic to be able to help people out in this way after years ago wishing that I could help out everyone who came across my desk. Now I can, and it's awesome.
Just one follow-up because I know we are now running out of time. Is this built with open AI integration? Like
It's OpenAI and Gemini, and I think a little Claude as well.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
It's awesome,
now
man. Sheetsresume.com. Anyone looking for a job, it changed your life. I'm telling you, it's the best. And we have a free template on there too, my original free template that I wrote for people.
and this business is probably a better business in terms of the financials, right? Like it's there's not really a
Um,
lot of costs associated with it.
Margin wise, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and from a headache perspective, I mean, I've had, yeah, the logistics of betting and e-commerce is nightmarish for me, but um at the same time, like I'm really good at it. So I don't know, it kind of depends on like what you mean by better, but yeah,
Margin
overall
wise,
it's
yes.
margin wise. I mean, yeah, so there's a reason why software companies get, 30x, 100x multiples. It's the margin. So, yeah, it's
Okay.
it's been really really rewarding in that way too.
Before I move on to our rapid fire segment, I asked this question to everybody. In every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. What has been like a big, I know you already mentioned one with the supply chain issue, but what has been like a big failure that was a learning experience for you? What did you learn? What can other
Well, I
entrepreneurs?
chose white packaging for for first packaging. That was a disaster. Don't choose white packaging, kids. FedEx and UPS will not respect how beautiful your packaging is, and it will show up totally destroyed to your customer's house. Um, I've made a lot of mistakes, man. I mean, it's your first business is all about learning, and I think that's why a lot of founders are very successful the second, third, fourth time they start a business. And of course, the only way you get to the second, third, fourth time is the first time. You gotta start at one. But I think that the some of the more major mistakes I've made over the years, I mean, it's a lot of it is like product and logistics related, you know what I mean? We did a 10,000 unit packaging run where we printed the packaging inversely. We had a defect rate of about 10% on our initial production run. So we had to replace all those units. It was incredibly expensive. Um, we one time I gave a sheet set to one of my investors, a navy sheet set, and I know it was navy because he sent me a picture of his mattress. He had sweat through the sheets and it had stained his mattress navy underneath
Wow.
in the shape of his body. And that was it's called the crocking defect when the
Okay.
dies don't set properly. And so yeah, I mean I've made plenty of mistakes, and we spent $50,000 on direct mail campaigns that have totally bombed. We've spent, 40 or 50 grand on radio advertising that didn't work. You have to try new things, and if you don't try new things, you'll never figure out what hits. But eventually, you start putting together a playbook of this works, this doesn't, this works, this doesn't, and then you really keep that playbook, tightly, and you make sure that you follow it. Otherwise, you keep making the same mistakes.
For sure. Now I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions and you have to answer them maybe in a word or a sentence or so. So the first one is one book recommendation for entrepreneurs and why?
It'll be a totally, but it'll be a book no one's ever said, and it has nothing to do with business, and it's called Desert Solitaire, and it's by Edward Abbey. And he was the only park ranger in Moab, Utah from 1957 to 1959. And this is his memoir of his time in Moab alone in a shack in the desert. And it's absolutely beautiful. And it just reminds you how special it is to come alive for this very brief moment in time and how there's so much more to our world than what we've made for ourselves in this modern society. And it's really special. Desert Solitaire.
Interesting. I'll check it out. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
Um, I'm both excited and trepidatious about a company called IntelliGems that I actually know quite well. I know the founders. They do price testing, really, really powerful price testing software like A, B, C, D, E. 20% of visitors see this, 20% see this. Mobile versus desktop, cross-outs versus discounts, free shipping versus threshold free shipping. A really robust price testing software. And it's really awesome for companies, especially in this tariff environment, who are looking for extra margin to figure out which products have a lower price elasticity and which ones are able to sustain a little bit more higher pricing. Um, at the same time, as a consumer, it freaks me out that knowing that basically everything I buy for the rest of my life is going to be price optimized to hit the absolute maximum dollar value that I'm willing to part with for the product at any given point in time. So, both excited and a little fearful.
Very interesting. So this directly integrates with like Shopify or something?
Shopify, yeah, it's
Okay.
called IntelliGems, like intelligence, but
Okay.
GEMS, IntelliGems.
A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend or a productivity tip?
Um, I really like it's another GPT product. It's called Site GPT. Really nice kid, single solopreneur founder in India. It's a chat bot that plugs into your site, works wonderfully 24/7. You can train it off 100 URLs. So if you have a lot of content you've written over the years, you can train this thing to talk in your brand voice, and it can answer questions. And it's like one line of JavaScript you inject onto your site, lowers customer care tickets, increases customer satisfaction, increases conversion. It's a great salesman.
Okay, great. Another startup or business that you think is currently doing great things?
Oh, I know a lot of founders that are just crushing it. My friend Jackie at Pepper Bras, my friends in Boulder at Shinesty, make incredible modal underwear, like I mentioned earlier. and my friends also in Colorado at Epic Water Filters. They get make a water filter in the USA that filters out PFAS. And then my buddy Caleb runs a company called Cubby Beds that is making beds specifically for autistic children and other children with developmental disabilities. And it's in a similar space, and we have a lot of respect for each other, and we're really good buddies. He won Denver Startup Week the year before I won Denver Startup Week, actually. And his product is like a life changer for families with autistic children. And so proud to know him and to see the business develop over the years.
Awesome. Final question, best business advice that you have ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
Um, I've received a lot of advice, so it's hard to know which one's the best. I'm big on mentorship. The advice that I usually give that I'm very particular about is um there's two pieces, and I guess I'll go with the one you said, two entrepreneurs, so two people who have already started a business. I'll say something I said earlier, don't make your company your entire life. Because companies fail. I've seen it a lot with people going through Techstars and friends of mine, and we've had to go through COVID and a bunch of other really difficult challenges. Um, there's so many things that can go wrong and that do go wrong when you start a business. So start a business for the right reasons, understand what your reasons are, to work for yourself, to change the world, to make a positive impact, to help others, to make a boatload of money, whatever your reason is, keep that tight. It'll get you through the bad times. And if your company doesn't make it, A, don't be afraid of that failure because that fear of failure will make you never start. And then B, just don't make it your entire personality. Like don't only post about your business on Instagram. Don't post on LinkedIn every single day about your company. Don't like make your Twitter presence like all about like post and do things in your life that are about your friends and family and interest and passions and hobbies. Be a well-rounded person, and I think that your business will actually benefit from it because you won't be so obsessive and so anxious about it.
Yeah, and I think that's good for probably your mental health also. So I think that's a great advice. Thank you so much again,
Yeah.
Colin. Those are all the questions that I had. And if anybody wants to check out your products, what's the best way to do that?
Sheetsgiggles.com for the best sheets you'll ever own. And then for any job hunters out there, if you need help finding a new career path, sheetsresume.com. I know it's a funny name. I'm like the My Pillow guy if he wasn't crazy. Well, I'm a little crazy, maybe if he wasn't evil. And I'm the Sheets guy. So my podcast is called Sheet Talk. My resume business is Sheets Resume. And Sheets and Giggles obviously is what started it all in my life. So I'm easy to find. Colin McIntosh, Sheets and Giggles, and if I can help with anything, your listeners are always welcome to reach out.
Awesome. Well, Colin, thank you so much again for sharing your story, for sharing your successes and failures, and really, really appreciate you joining me today at Trip Talks.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's a fun conversation.